A little bit of a timeline. Today at 1:05 a.m., officers were patrolling the Oregon District during bar closing time and heard gunfire. They observed a large crowd running away from this gunfire. The officers immediately advanced toward the gunfire, and within approximately 20 seconds, they engaged a suspect who was actively firing and attempting to enter a crowded liquor establishment. Threat was neutralized in approximately 30 seconds of the suspect firing his first shot.
Oh, fuck. Dude, what the fuck? What the fuck? Minute goes by pretty quickly, and a New York minute seems to go by even quicker. But a whole lot can happen during those 60 seconds. Every minute, 250 babies will be born around the world. Every minute, the average American household will make 0.096 cents. Every minute, UPS will deliver 11,319 packages. Every minute, 83,300 people will have sex. In 1 minute, your heart will beat 60 to 100 times. Every minute, Apple will make $70,466. Every minute, blood will circulate through your entire vascular system 3 times. In 1 minute, about 2 violent crimes will be committed in the United States. In 1 minute, you will blink 15 to 20 times. In 1 minute, 2 auto thefts will be committed in the United States. In 1 minute, an adult heart will pump about 5 quarts of blood. In 1 minute, 144 people will move to a new home. In 1 minute, 4 earthquakes of magnitude 2 or greater will occur around the world. In 1 minute, the world will consume 11.5 million pounds of food. In 1 minute, 950,186 pounds of trash will be thrown away in the United States. But in half that time, 30 seconds, time that is less that it takes to warm up a cup of coffee, a piece of shit murdered 9 people and injured dozens more. 30 seconds. That's around the time it took a 24-year-old Bellbrook, Ohio man to rain terror down the Oregon District last Sunday as he opened fire with his gun. The loud boom of the weapon echoed for blocks, and the victim's screams are something bystanders will never forget. For the past week, Dayton Daily News examined police logs, 911 calls, hospital reports, videos, and interviewed eyewitnesses, victims, and relatives to piece together what happened that horrific night. Sheila Stanifer was dining with a friend on a patio of Blind Bob's just after 1 a.m. That's when the first boom was heard, Stanifer said. A man sitting next to them yelled, "Get down on the ground or you're going to die." After leaving Newcomb's Tavern just minutes before, Deion Green and his fiancée were in line at a popular taco stand a weekend fixture in front of Blind Bob's bar. Next to them was Green's dad, Derek Fudge of Springfield. That's when Green caught a glimpse of a man dressed in black, armed with a firearm. All at once, he heard the first shots as a gunman walked past him from an alley beside the bar across the sidewalk and onto a packed 5th Street. This is unreal, Green recalled, thinking the shots rang past them. Once he gets on the other side of the street, that's when it sounds like a roll of firecrackers went off and chaos and a panic started, Green said. Just across the street, Dutch Woods waited in line to get into Ned Pepper's with Thomas, T.J. McNichols, a man he met earlier that night. Surveillance video captured the moment shots rang out, and for the next terrifying 30 seconds, scores of people scrambled for their lives. Dozens ran into Ned Pepper's. Others dove for cover behind cars and street planters. I ducked, got real low, because in my mind, the first thing you think of was running. But when you don't know where the shots are coming from, you can't run, Woods said. You just got to take cover. As the smoke and smell of gunpowder from 106 rounds of ammunition filled the street, Green crouching for cover next to 2 people on the ground. One of them was his dad. The situation turned into something else real quick, Green said. I told my dad to get up. His eyes were open. Come on, get up, Dad. That's when I get down. I look at his body. I don't see no bullet holes, but when I get closer, I see the blood coming from behind his head, Green said. I just grabbed onto him. I cradled him and told him I love him. I just couldn't let go. Next to them on the ground was another person fighting for their life. She's saying, "Can you call the police?" "Help. I've been shot," Green said. The person pleading for help was Megan Betts, the gunman's sister, and one of the first to get shot near them. Nichols lay dying across the street. At some point Saturday night, the piece of shit who was out with his younger sister Megan and a friend, Chase Beard, parked a 2007 gray Toyota Corolla in the parking lot near Thai 9 and J Seafood. The 300 Blind Bob's bar shortly after 11 p.m. Saturday, established by surveillance footage. About an hour after he entered Blind Bob's bar, the piece of shit wearing a t-shirt and shorts stops at the front door, talks to staff, and exits. His sister and Beard remained in the hopping bar about another 45 minutes before they exited, around 1 a.m. It's unclear at what time the piece of shit did between leaving the bar at 12:13 a.m. But when he emerged from the dark alley next to Blind Bob's patio, he looked completely different, wearing a mask, bulletproof vest and hearing protection, and carried a semi-automatic pistol modified with a long barrel and an extended capacity drum magazine capable of holding up to 100 rounds. And he was carrying more ammo in a backpack. After the first bullet struck his sister, his friend Beard, along with Fudge and another man, the piece of shit leveled fire on people across the street outside Ned Pepper's, witnesses said. Now, you go downtown on any weekend night, you'll notice Dayton police regularly patrol the Oregon District on weekends. They were nearby. One cruiser was already parked alongside the next building over. "Active shooter downtown!" an officer shouted into his radio as gunfire erupted. "Multiple shots fired! Multiple shots fired!" More than 20 people in front of Ned Pepper's ran, tumbled, and fell away from the gunfire. Many into the doorway of the bar. More people swept past the view of surveillance camera and dove through the bar's doors. While everyone else ran into the bar, the doorman on a phone or radio stepped outside, looked down the sidewalk, then ducked back in just seconds before the shooter came into view. Within 20 seconds, officers were firing on the shooter who was moving quickly down the sidewalk. Several officers converged on the piece of shit from the east, guns drawn. Another officer quickly flanked the shooter from the opposite direction. The piece of shit's gun appeared drawn as he turned towards the bar's doorway. The piece of shit was hit by bullets, fell to the ground, and rolled to his back. He attempted to get up, but a barrage of police gunfire left him dead, face down, just outside the doorway. The doorman, later identified as Jeremy Ganger, grabbed the gun from the perpetrator's hands. "We're gonna need multiple medics," an officer said over police radio. "We think there's one shooter. He is down." A Signal 99, an officer in trouble, was relayed to multiple police jurisdictions, and medics were summoned and hospitals notified. At the same time, calls poured in to 911 dispatchers.
We have an active shooter on 5th Street.
Okay, 5th Street and what intersection?
I don't fucking know. It's right outside, hole in the wall.
Okay, right outside the
One gun,
wall.
one man, and a match, multiple shots. Right outside Newcomb. Get outside Newcomb.
Someone got shot there?
I don't know if there was shot. You're shooting in the air. People were running and screaming. Active shooter outside Newcomb. Get a match. Get
Is
the
he
gun.
still shooting right now?
Adult male. Yes. Outside. Shoot up outside.
Okay,
Inside.
is he a black male,
Get
white
the
male?
fuck inside.
Is he a black male, white male?
I could not tell he had a mask. We ran inside. We're barricading the door.
You're inside hole in the wall, correct?
Currently on it says, what was it, Newcomb? Yeah, we're inside Newcomb. He was right outside Newcomb.
Okay, I got the caller, okay? Just stay on the phone.
Thank you so much.
Are you at Newcomb
Thank you so much.
Tavern?
We're at Newcomb Tavern, downtown Dayton. Active shooter, adult male, about 5'8", 6 foot, I don't know, 6 foot.
Other calls poured in. "We need an ambulance on 5th Street at Tumbleweeds," a caller said. "Somebody just shot a bunch of people and somebody is in here bleeding from their head." Before more police and medics arrived, some gave first aid to victims. Bartenders and bouncers from nearby bars used t-shirts and bar rags as makeshift tourniquets. "The smoke hasn't cleared and they're rushing outside to help people," said Austin Smith, Ned Pepper's general manager. "It would be easy to run and hide." As she ran from Blind Bob's, Donna Pettit Miller said blood was everywhere because an employee ran inside after the restaurant after being shot. In the darkness, some held flashlights and their cell phones for those treating the wounded, while others held and comforted victims. Holly Redmond and her friend James Williams were at nearby Newcomb's Tavern and rushed to the wounded and dying. Redmond began breathing for a man bleeding from a gunshot as another person pumped furiously on his chest. A woman tried to stop the bleeding with her hands, but they couldn't save Logan Turner, Redmond said. The tragedy drew a massive number of police and firefighters. More than 100 police officers from multiple departments were dispatched to the scene Sunday, according to log sheets. 2 Marine officers arrived within 10 minutes and worked their way toward the center of the Oregon district. under the assumption that an active shooter was still on the loose. Officer Adam Lyons and Matthew Schenkel came upon two black males who were already dead. A white female getting CPR, and a white male who couldn't move his leg and was named in the report filed afterward as Beard. As Lyons stood guard over them with a shotgun, Schenkel cut off Beard's shorts, found a bullet wound to the right hip, and kept pressure on the wound until medics took over, his report read. Schenkel noticed the burners were still on at the now abandoned taco stand and turned off the gas. Dayton Fire Department had 21 medic units headed to the scene, but some of the wounded were already on the way to hospitals in the back of police cars. A Miami Valley Hospital trauma team resident was inside Ned Pepper's when the shooting started, said Dr. Peter Eck, medical director of the program and a trauma surgeon. The woman ran out the back door and phoned colleagues telling them to brace for casualties. Miami Valley Hospital took in its first wounded about 10 minutes after the shooting. 8 minutes after that, 2 more victims arrived. Within an hour and a half, the hospital would receive another 16. 5 people with gunshot wounds went to Grandview Hospital, the first arriving at 1:29. All were transported there by police, according to the hospital. Some people were trampled or hurt running away, but 14 of the 37 injured were treated for gunshot wounds, mainly to the extremities, inflicted by a round made to kill, X said. These are very high-velocity ballistic missiles that are designed for carnage, he said. They are weapons of warfare. For hours, Fifth Street was littered with shoes from people who escaped, medical bandages, and abandoned vehicles riddled with bullet holes. Blood covered the bricks and pavement. And lying on the sidewalk and street were 10 bodies covered with white sheets. Following the carnage, police did not put down their guard as they thought the piece of shit may have had an accomplice, dressed similarly and still on the loose. They were on the lookout for a dark blue Jeep and even alerted Indiana authorities that might cross the state line. At 3:18 a.m., attention turned toward the piece of shit's car left in the parking lot behind Tie 9 restaurant. As dawn approached, the last of 10 bodies was removed from the street. 2 officers held up crime scene tape that spanned Fifth Street to allow the coroner's van to pass. As the sun rose Sunday, few knew the horror of the night. A yellow evidence marker, scores of them in all, now set where each cell casing came to rest. As word spread of the shooting, people across the Miami Valley wondered whether one of those numbers signified the death of a loved one, close friend, or acquaintance. This is the day we all dread happening, Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley said at the first of several appearances that day. In less than 1 minute, Dayton officers neutralized the shooter, she said, and saved literally hundreds of lives. Later in the morning, officials beyond the city limits reacted to the shooting, and nation's attention became focused on the Oregon District, side of the country's second mass shooting in just 13 hours. At a subsequent news conference, the community learned the name of the cops who brought down the gunman, the shooter's name, and the shocking news: his sister was among the deceased. Memorials went up along Fifth Street, and the community came together that afternoon and evening to mourn, remember, and start to heal. At one prayer gathering, Celeste Pickett went up and put her arms around Brittany Mitchell, a complete stranger, because Mitchell was standing by herself crying. "You never leave anyone alone," Pickett said. With 4 hours remaining on a day that will pain so many ceaselessly, the community gathered for a candlelight vigil. Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine began to speak. The crowd had a louder message. Throughout this timeline of events, I cannot say the suspect's name. You may have noticed I've referred to him as every time that within the dialogue of this, I referred to him as a piece of shit. I wanted to lay out the timeline of events for you of what happened that night in the Oregon district. It's very tragic. And there's still more facts to be learned. But I felt this needed to be addressed. It's a very tough subject. I just try to stick with the basic facts we have for now. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people out there with speculation and their own theories, this, that, and another. But I don't roll that way. I wanted to do this to focus on the heroes of this situation. Jeremy Ganger, a bouncer at Ned Pepper's, said that when the shooting started, he remained at his post and helped people through the door to safety. He said the job's his door. I protect the customers and my guys that work there as well, all the staff members. So when I saw the chance to step up and help do my job, my part, that's all it was. It was his job. 9 people dead. Nearly 30 others wounded. Before the shooter tried to enter the bar. As the gunman was shooting, Ganger held the door, allowing an estimated 200 people to escape through the bar's back patio and delaying the shooter until police arrived. At one point, as more shots rang out, he felt something like a nip on his leg and ignored it. I would have died before that guy came in, he said. Our patrons are more important than one active shooter. So I was going to try to stand my ground the best I could. Ganger estimated the shooter was less than 3 feet from him when Dayton police officers shot him. He looked at me straight in my eye. That's why I don't know. If you saw the footage, you saw him pause for a second. It's because he's looking at me like, why are you holding the door? So you knew I was there waiting. That's what I wanted him to know. I hope I'm the last thing he remembered. Now, I brought up a couple other civilians a couple minutes ago, Holly Redmond and James Williams. You know, events like this, you think, is there something else I can do? Is there something else I could have done? That's a very tough question to ask yourself. But this is the situation at hand. Holly Redmond breathed into a man's mouth as he lay in the street bleeding out from a gunshot. Another person pumped fiercely on his chest. A woman used her hands to try to stop the bleeding. They just couldn't save him. Redmond said she watched 30-year-old Logan Turner die. Moments after gunmen sprayed bullets at innocent people in Dayton's Oregon district. I just want his parents to know that we did everything possible to save him. Like everything, Redmond said. Three people were on him. I was there when he took his last breaths. It's so hard. I'm sorry. Turner, a Springboro native, was one of the 9 people the gunman killed when he opened fire in Dayton's historic Oregon district. Redmond was with their longtime friend James Williams at Newcomb's Tavern when they heard the gunfire. Previously, they were sitting on the patio of Ned Pepper's, which you saw where the gunman ran up and passed in the surveillance videos. But after Williams heard round after round after round of gunshots, he thought about how many people could be dead. He was able to get out of the bar and onto the street to help people. He said, I'm not going to sit here locked in a bar and know I can't be out there helping to do something, you know. Williams and Redmond and countless of other people tried to help those who were shot and bleeding out. Williams said he saw bartenders from Ned Pepper's carrying victims into ambulances. The hard part is when they say, stop, stop. There's nothing you can do. During the course of it, Redmond was out in the street, using her own shirt, just in the middle of the street, just in her bra, using her shirt as a tourniquet, trying to save someone. James later posted on a Facebook video that he went to church after the shooting because he had an angel watching over him that morning. People just need to love each other. The hate has to go away. People need to pull together as one. As stated before, I'm not going to mention the shooter's name. It's out there enough. I'll continue to refer to him as a piece of shit. It's sad, I know. But in remembrance of Lois L. Oglesby, 27, Megan K. Betts, 22, Saeed Salih, 38, Derek R. Fudge, 57, Logan M. Turner, 30, Nicholas P. Coomer, 25, Thomas J. McNichols, 25, Beatrice N. Warren Curtis, 36, Monica E. Brickhouse. I take this moment of silence for you and your family. Now, for the officers involved, and Dayton police, they get a lot of shit in the community. And it's horrific. But I'm glad they've got positive interaction with the community for this. And I definitely feel these officers need to be recognized. Sergeant William C. Knight, sworn in February 14th, 1997. Officer Brian Rolfs, sworn in April 8th, 2016. Officer Jeremy Campbell, sworn in August 5th, 2016. Officer Vincent Carter, sworn in April 8th, 2016. Officer Ryan Nabel, sworn in April 8th, 2016. And Officer David Denlinger, sworn in April 8th, 2016. Thank you for your service. Now, after recognizing these heroes in our community and this tragic situation that Dayton has endured, there's one other thing I like to point out. It doesn't matter your view or opinion on politics and gun control, etc. I want to share a social media post because I started seeing something on social media and it really concerned me. It's very upsetting. It doesn't matter your politics, your view on certain topics. On August 4th, 2019, our country, the United States of America, suffered a tragedy from a mass shooting that took place. That same day, my Aunt Rita was working at the hospital in the ICU where victims of the shooting were brought. My aunt personally helped one of the victims. My aunt who worked to help save one of the victims' lives. On Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, President Donald Trump went to the hospital to show support of their hard work and dedication during a time of crisis. President Trump personally walked over to my aunt because he wanted to meet her. Now today, my aunt was forced to take down her Facebook page and is being forced to be escorted in and out of her place of work by security because of threats being made by people who do not support Trump, regardless of political views. This is just not okay. She is a nurse who helps save lives every day for the past 25 years. She was ecstatic to meet the President of the United States of America. She was being recognized for her hard work, and now she can't even live like a normal person. In the past year, she has been through so much, from losing her husband to raising her grandkids on her own and working full time. And this is how she gets treated. She was excited, just like anyone else would be, meeting someone famous. Why do we live in a world like this? This is sickening. Nurses almost never get recognized for their work. And people are now taking them away from patient care for their hate. Shame on the people who post slandering white men and the police. You do not have to agree with the president. You don't have to agree with other people's views. Just be respectful and thankful that we live in a country where you can be a hateful asshole and share your opinions in which it matters. The reason I bring this up, there's people going online and putting up the hospital's phone numbers to the squad number, to the charge nurse, the ED fax number, the nurse's manager, the campus police, all these. And all the patient experience number 2 for the hospital. All you're doing is disrupting patients' care to just be a fucking douchebag. I'm so pissed off over this, I don't even know how to form the words I want to say for this. I digress. I usually try not to bring my own personal opinions and thoughts into matters like this, or into the podcast itself. But a hospital is supposed to be a place for healing. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. This is a hard episode for me to produce and put together. A lot of my resources and references are from WHIO, which is News Channel 7 here in Dayton, Ohio, the Dayton Daily News. And it's just really tough. I love Dayton, Ohio. I've had a lot of fun in Dayton. And I claim Dayton for everything I do. People. It's a people problem. It's what I look at it Stay tuned. Next week, hopefully we're not having to discuss a tragedy. Love one another. Take time to go out and talk to one another. Go out and meet someone new.
Now you will see a video that was
something
taken inside of one of the shops on 5th Street in the Oregon District.